72 hours ago, American intelligence intercepted communications that changed everything. Russian military advisors in Iran, not diplomats, not observers, operators, actively integrated into Iranian air defense networks, actively sharing targeting data, actively helping Iran engage American aircraft. This isn't speculation. This is what NATO intelligence is reporting to allied governments right now. This is why emergency meetings are happening in Brussels, Washington, and Tel Aviv simultaneously. This is why the Pentagon just reclassified threat assessments for the entire Middle East theater. For decades, Russia and Iran maintained a relationship of convenience, arms sales, diplomatic coordination, mutual opposition to American influence, but always with limits, always with distance, always with deniability. Those limits just disappeared. Russia is now providing Iran with S-500 air defense systems, the most advanced anti-aircraft technology Moscow has ever exported. Russian technicians are operating alongside Iranian crews. Russian intelligence is feeding Iranian commanders real-time data on American aircraft movements. Russian electronic warfare systems are jamming American communications. Let that sink in. American pilots flying over Iran aren't just facing Iranian defenses anymore. They're facing Russian technology operated with Russian expertise guided by Russian intelligence. The F-35 incidents everyone is discussing didn't happen because Iran suddenly got lucky. They happened because Russia made them happen. But here's where the story breaks apart. This isn't about one weapon system. This isn't about one conflict. This is about the fundamental restructuring of global power dynamics. Russia and Iran aren't just cooperating, they're integrating. Military systems, intelligence networks, strategic planning. Two American adversaries becoming one operational entity. Washington spent 20 years preparing to fight Russia or Iran. Washington never prepared to fight Russia and Iran functioning as a unified military force. That's exactly what's happening now. And the Pentagon has no playbook for it. Stay with me. What you learn in the next 15 minutes will show you why Russia-Iran military cooperation has become Washington's biggest strategic problem, what it means for global markets, and why American military planners are facing scenarios they never imagined. Welcome back to Warnomics. Before we break down exactly what Russia is providing Iran, why this cooperation accelerated now, what it means for oil prices and defense stocks, and how it transforms American military operations worldwide, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell right now. This is the strategic shift that transforms not just this war, but every American security calculation for the next decade. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll understand why two adversaries cooperating is exponentially more dangerous than two adversaries acting alone. Let's start with what's actually being transferred and integrated. The hardware is unprecedented. S-500 Prometheus air defense systems, Russia's most advanced anti-aircraft technology, engagement range exceeding 600 kilometers, designed specifically to counter American stealth aircraft, never before exported outside Russian territory. But the S-500 is just the visible component. Intelligence sources indicate Russia is also providing advanced electronic warfare systems. Krasuka-4 platforms capable of jamming AWACS aircraft and satellite communications. Murmansk BN systems that can disrupt communications across hundreds of kilometers. Technology that degrades American situational awareness before Iranian missiles launch. Anti-ship missile systems are reportedly part of the package. The Zircon hypersonic missile capable of Mach 9 speeds, designed to threaten American carrier battle groups. The Bastion coastal defense system that can deny access to entire maritime zones. And then there's the intelligence sharing. Russian satellites tracking American aircraft movements, Russian signals intelligence intercepting American communications, Russian analysis identifying patterns in American operations, all of it flowing to Iranian commanders in real time. This isn't arms sales, this is military integration. Russian advisors aren't just training Iranians, they're operating systems alongside Iranians. They're embedded in command structures. They're present at air defense sites. Their expertise is inseparable from Iranian operations. The implications cascade. Every American strike on Iranian air defenses risks Russian personnel casualties. Every Russian system that engages an American aircraft involves Russian participation. The firewall between U.S.-Iran conflict and U.S.-Russia conflict doesn't exist anymore. So why did Russia cross this line? Why transfer technology Moscow protected for decades? Why embed personnel in an active combat zone against American forces? The answer is strategic opportunity. America's committed to Iran, carrier battle groups deployed, air assets dedicated, intelligence resources focused, political capital invested. Washington cannot easily disengage regardless of what Russia does. This creates opportunity elsewhere. While American attention fixes on Tehran, what happens in Ukraine? While American resources concentrate on Iranian operations, what happens in the Baltic? While American intelligence focuses on Middle East threats, what happens in the Arctic? Russia is exploiting American overextension. Every Russian asset transferred to Iran creates American problems that consume resources. Every American aircraft lost over Iran is an aircraft not available for European contingencies. Every American pilot deployed to the Middle East is a pilot not training for Pacific scenarios. The math is elegant and devastating. Russia provides weapons that cost millions. Those weapons engage aircraft that cost hundreds of millions. American replacement timelines stretch years. Russian production continues. The exchange rate favors Moscow dramatically. But the calculation goes deeper. Russia-Iran military cooperation isn't just a strategic problem. It's an economic earthquake. Let's start with oil markets. Iran sits on the world's fourth largest proven oil reserves. Russia controls the world's largest natural gas reserves and substantial oil production. Together, they influence over 20% of global hydrocarbon supply. Their military cooperation creates market uncertainty that translates directly into price premiums. Brent crude has surged 34% since this cooperation became public. West Texas Intermediate follows similar trajectories. Every barrel of oil now carries a risk premium, reflecting the possibility of expanded conflict. Analysts estimate $15 to $25 per barrel is pure geopolitical fear. That fear isn't irrational, it's priced correctly. Why? Because Russia-Iran coordination threatens the Strait of Hormuz. 21% of global oil consumption passes through this choke point daily. Iranian anti-ship missiles, now enhanced with Russian Zircon hypersonics, can threaten tanker traffic. Russian intelligence can identify optimal interdiction points. One coordinated strike on tanker traffic sends oil prices past $150 per barrel overnight. The defense sector tells its own story. Lockheed Martin stock has experienced unusual volatility. The F-35 program represents their flagship product. Every engagement against American stealth aircraft creates investor uncertainty. If Russian enhanced defenses consistently threaten F-35s, program viability questions emerge. $1.7 trillion in program value becomes negotiable. Raytheon, Northrop Grumman, General Dynamics face similar calculations. Defense stocks typically surge during conflicts, but this conflict introduces a variable markets haven't priced. American weapons losing against adversary cooperation. The narrative of American technological supremacy underpins defense valuations. Challenge that narrative and valuations recalculate. Global trade routes are repricing risk. Insurance premiums for vessels transiting the Persian Gulf have increased 400% since cooperation announcements. Shipping companies are rerouting where possible. The additional fuel costs and transit times cascade through supply chains. Every container that avoids the Gulf adds cost that consumers eventually pay. Currency markets reflect the uncertainty. The dollar traditionally strengthens during conflicts as safe haven demand increases. But prolonged conflict with uncertain outcomes creates different dynamics. Defense spending strains budgets. Trade disruptions reduce growth. The fiscal mathematics of extended war against coordinated adversaries creates long-term dollar pressure that currency traders are beginning to price. The bond market sees the implications. Treasury yields reflect expectations of increased defense spending. Budget projections that assumed limited conflicts require revision. The Congressional Budget Office hasn't modeled scenarios where adversary cooperation extends conflict duration and increases costs. When those models update, yield curves shift. For investors, the calculus is uncomfortable. Traditional defense plays assume American technological superiority. Russia-Iran cooperation challenges that assumption. Energy plays assume supply disruption creates opportunity, but coordination that escalates to Strait of Hormuz closure creates systemic risk beyond individual positions. Safe haven plays assume conflicts resolve. Adversary integration suggests prolonged uncertainty. The economic implications extend far beyond market movements. European energy security, already strained by Ukraine dynamics, faces additional pressure. Asian economies dependent on Gulf oil confront supply uncertainty. Emerging markets with dollar-denominated debt face currency pressure. The global economy hasn't priced AS. Let's examine the numbers that explain why this cooperation concerns American planners. The coverage math. S-500 engagement range, 600 kilometers. Iran's width, approximately 1,600 kilometers. 3 S-500 batteries provide overlapping coverage of the entire country. Russian transfer reportedly included 2 complete systems. Strategic targets are now defended. The detection math. S-500 radar uses multiple frequency bands specifically designed to detect stealth aircraft. Estimated detection range against F-35, 200-plus kilometers. Combined with Russian electronic warfare degrading American situational awareness, stealth advantages diminish significantly. The exchange math. S-500 interceptor missile cost, approximately $305 million. F-35 cost, $80 million. F-22 cost, $150 million. B-2 cost, $2 billion. Even a 10% engagement success rate creates exchange ratios problematic for American force structure. Production timelines can't replace losses. The personnel math. Russian advisors presented air defense sites means Russian casualties are possible in American strikes. Russian operators participating in engagements means Russian responsibility for American casualties. The numerical reality creates escalation pathways that didn't exist before. The implications of Russia-Iran cooperation extend far beyond the current conflict. For NATO, the emergency isn't just about Iran. If Russia will provide S-500 systems to Iran during active combat with America, what stops similar transfers to Syria, to North Korea, to any nation in conflict with Western interests? The precedent fundamentally changes alliance security calculations. For Israel, the implications are immediate. Israeli F-35s face the same Russian-enhanced threats as American aircraft. Israeli strike planning against Iranian nuclear facilities now confronts Russian air defense technology operated with Russian expertise. The operational window for effective strikes closes rapidly. For China, validation. Beijing has watched Russia demonstrate willingness to directly challenge American military operations. Chinese calculations about Taiwan, about the South China Sea, about their own potential conflicts, now incorporate the lesson great power support can neutralize American technological advantages. For American allies globally, uncomfortable questions. Japan relies on American air power for defense. South Korea depends on American technological superiority. Australia has built strategy around American dominance. If Russia can contest that dominance in Iran, what guarantees exist elsewhere? For the defense industry, existential pressure. The F-35 program cost $1.7 trillion based on promises of air dominance against any adversary. If Russian-enhanced Iranian defenses effectively engage F-35s, that promise faces its most serious test. Congressional hearings follow. Procurement decisions recalculate. Allied purchases reconsider. America's options for countering Russia-Iran cooperation range from inadequate to escalatory. Option 1. Accept degraded operations, continue strikes accepting higher attrition, absorb aircraft and personnel losses as cost of war. Problem: American military culture doesn't accept preventable casualties. Political backlash would be severe. Sustainability is limited. Option 2, standoff warfare. Shift entirely to cruise missiles and drones. Keep manned aircraft outside Russian-enhanced engagement envelopes. Problem: standoff weapons are limited in inventory. Strike capacity diminishes significantly. High-value defended targets become unreachable. Option 3, escalate against Russian supply. Interdict transfers. Target Russian cargo aircraft delivering weapons. Strike Iranian integration facilities. Problem: directly attacking Russian military assets risks confrontation with a nuclear power. The escalation implications are obvious. Option 4, diplomatic pressure. Demand Russia cease cooperation, threaten consequences, rally international condemnation. Problem: Russia has calculated that benefits outweigh costs. Diplomatic pressure hasn't altered Russian behavior in Ukraine. Why would Iran be different? Option 5, counter-proliferation. Provide advanced systems to Russian adversaries. Give Ukraine capabilities that threaten Russian territory. Arm nations that challenge Russian interests. Problem: this escalates globally rather than solving the immediate tactical problem, and it takes months or years to implement. None of these options restore the operational freedom America enjoyed before Russian-Iranian integration. Russia-Iran cooperation is part of something bigger: Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. These nations increasingly coordinate against American interests. Not formal alliance, not treaty obligations, but functional cooperation that multiplies their individual capabilities. Chinese technology reaches Iran through Russian channels. Iranian drones reach Russia for Ukraine operations. North Korean ammunition reaches Russian forces. The networks are forming. The integration is deepening. The coordination is accelerating. American strategy assumed adversaries would remain isolated, divide and conquer, manage each threat separately, prevent coordination. That assumption is failing. The world is watching two American adversaries. For those of us watching from home, Russia-Iran cooperation seems like geopolitical abstraction, diplomatic relationships between distant nations, market movements on trading screens. But it represents something profound. For 30 years, American military power was unchallengeable because adversaries faced it alone. We could concentrate force against isolated opponents. We could leverage technological advantages against nations that couldn't access counters. Russia just provided those counters to Iran during active combat with Russian personnel directly involved. The era of isolated adversaries is ending. The era of coordinated opposition is beginning. Markets are pricing it. Militaries are adapting to it. And American strategy hasn't caught up. The honest answer: we don't know how far Russia-Iran integration will develop. We don't know if other adversaries will adopt similar models. We don't know if American institutions can recalculate fast enough to respond. But the possibility that adversary cooperation permanently degrades American military and economic advantages now exists in ways it didn't 6 months ago. The playbook that worked for 30 years may no longer apply. This cooperation transforms global security and global markets, and waronomics will be here as the implications unfold. If this analysis helped you understand why Russia-Iran military cooperation represents Washington's biggest strategic problem, share this video with someone who needs to see beyond the surface headlines. Drop a comment below. Do you think America can counter adversary cooperation? And how are you positioning your portfolio for prolonged great power competition? Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell because when the next phase of Russia-Iran integration emerges, you'll want analysis that explains what it means. This is Waronomics. Stay informed, stay aware.